let's move into the next topic, and that is the Boston Celtics and their draft. It wasn't a bright one to start. They stuck at 14 and took Romeo Langford, which I don't think most people had a problem with. I think it was a pretty easy pick for them to take at 14. They needed to address the two-guard position, and they did so. And then they had the 20th pick, and news came out that they were taking Matisse Thybulle, but then immediately that was met with news that they were trading that to the Philadelphia 76ers and getting the 24th pick and the 33rd pick. Then that turned them trading the 24th pick to Phoenix for Phoenix to select Ty Jerome, and the Celtics got multiple players in that. Oh, and then after the 20th pick, they took Grant Williams at 22.
Do you want me to lay it down? Because I got an article here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So they drafted Romeo Langford at 14, then traded 20 to Philadelphia for 24 and 33.
Yeah.
Then drafted Grant Williams at 22. Traded 24 and Aaron Baines to Phoenix. Just to Phoenix. And I think they got Milwaukee's first-round pick.
Yeah, they did.
Next year. Drafted Garland at 33, a pick before the Sixers. Danny Ainge strikes again. Yeah, Carson Edwards.
Garland.
The Purdue colors similar to the Vandy colors. And then they took guard at LSU, Tremont Waters at 51.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so immediately that was met by Celtics superfan Bill Simmons by saying, why the hell are we picking Matisse Thybulle and then trading him to an in-division rival? Because he liked Thybulle. He had obviously one of the best wing defenders.
Divisions don't matter in basketball.
One of the best wing defenders, though. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the talk was that Danny Ainge is a bad drafter in our Twitch stream. But looking back at this, Ricky, our question is posing, did the Celtics have a bad draft? Personally, I look at this. I like the draft.
It's not the worst. And the thing that confuses me is, so we knew going into it that, so Woj was like, Celtics are going to trade one of their first-round picks. And we all thought that meant, well, they're not going to take an extra person with it. But instead of taking one in the first, they trade back, take one in the second. And it's like, Romeo Langford, I'll be honest, I'm not super high on Langford. But the question that I have for him is basically, with this team out there right now, is he going to be their second unit guy, like off the bench? Like, is he going to be the ball dominant guy for this team? Because that's what he was at Indiana. Grant Williams, I absolutely love for this team because he's a high IQ player that I think is a kind of not scrappy defender, but he's that defender that is going to cause you fits and just be annoying out there. He's kind of like that gnat that just stays very close to you, and you're like, get the fuck away from me. And he's the perfect player, one of the perfect players that I think fits with a Brad Stevens type of team. And then Carson Edwards. I absolutely love Carson Edwards, and I know that there's questions like you have brought up in our pre-draft discussions of his size, and is that going to affect his shot ability and his shot creation at the NBA? But they're a team that losing Kyrie, they could possibly lose Terry Rozier. The Celtics hit some needs and hit some teams, and I know Tremont Waters kind of fits that. Like, they go double point guard in the second round. Hey, one of them has to fit. I wonder if they're going to let Terry Rozier walk, so then they have that $34 million. Like, what Woj tweeted, it's what, $25.8 million in cap space right now?
Yeah.
And then if they let Rozier go, it goes to $34 million. I wonder if that's what Danny Ainge is doing, where it's like, fuck it, I'm just going to load up all this cap space and try to hit something in free agency, or just pick guys that are really going to fit the Celtic model.
Yeah, I think the part that I love about, I don't know if I love's a strong word, Ricky. You don't want to ever say you love something before you really get to know it.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, Bobby Marks tweeted out that Woj retweeted. Boston's now sitting at $25.8 million in cap room, factoring in the Rozier hold after the trade with Phoenix could increase to $34 million without Rozier. If I'm the Celtics, goodbye, Terry. I don't need you. Bye, scary
Especially
Terry.
after everything he said on the jump, bye-bye, get out of here. We don't need you.
That's really not what I'm referring to. I don't think he's worth the contract that he's going to end up getting. I think that it's an overpay, and I don't love him that much as a player. And being 25 and looking at what they're doing, they're going to be getting rid of Al Horford. They're going to be getting rid of Kyrie Irving.
Well, they're not getting rid of Al Horford. Al Horford's getting rid of them.
Yes. They weren't able to come to contract terms, and it's most likely that he's going to be leaving. So it looks like they're going to be going in a younger direction, and I think just go completely younger and don't lock up your contract into possibly not great player in Terry Rozier. He had obviously some great times when Kyrie wasn't out there, so maybe you want to play to that. But he's a below 40% shooter from the field in his career. He's a below average shooter from three, and I'm really cutting it thin on the three because his average is 35.5 and the league average is 30, or his average is 35.4 and the league average last year was 35.5. So it's close on that one, but he's not that great of a free throw shooter either. And he's not a great passer, but he's not horrible. Like he's got a decent assist to turnover ratio. But I say go with the $34 million. Either go after a very young player in D'Angelo Russell, if he is going to be able to walk. I think that you can probably entice him to come over. And even if you don't get him, that $34 million is huge with all the draft picks that you do have, because you could possibly get more draft picks and take on a bad contract and just build up even longer for some of these teams. And I think that would be kind of salivating to Danny Ainge, because you look at this roster, and I think one of the oldest players on this team is obviously going to be Marcus Smart, but I don't think you get rid of him. I love the two guards that they took in this draft, at least point guards, Carson Edwards and Tremont Waters, for this team, because we've seen small guards in Brad Stevens' system accelerate. And if you're putting Carson Edwards in a situation where he's open and he's using his speed, then holy shit, I love that.
Yeah.
I don't like when Carson Edwards is like, I'm going rogue. I'm going, with 30-foot three-pointers because I'm feeling hot.
If he was doing like what they used to do with IT,
that's what I'm saying.
Then it works.
Yeah, the screen stuff. If he's playing in more of a set system where the plan is to get him open, I love that. And Tremont Waters, he's kind of what I think the perfect balance to Carson Edwards, where he's a very decent three-point shooter. He's very solid, consistent three-point shooter, and he's also a very good defender. So while Edwards might be played out of the lineup because of his lack of size and lack of defense, and although Waters is kind of small, I think Waters has that natural defensive instinct to stay in front of guys and to really pressure players. And he's also a really good passer, where I think that lacks in Carson Edwards. So those two guards, where you have a great scoring guard in Edwards and you have a good all-around guard in Waters, I love that fit. And if Langford's shot is as good as we think it is, and the Celtics gym, these guys are already shooting above average.
Those soft rims, man.
I think that Romeo Langford could also be a steal this draft. So you're looking at this lineup, and you have, Smart, Edwards, Waters, Langford in that backcourt at the guard position. Then you have Tatum, Brown as your two primary wings.
Gordon Hayward
as well. And then you bring in Grant Williams as well as the 4, and you look at that 5 spot, and that's a little bit iffy for them, at least looking forward. But you do have two potential guys, especially you have Robert Williams, who just drafted, and Semi Ojeleye, who can kind of bounce from the 3 to the 5, who's putting in a ton of work to be better. I'm probably missing someone as well, too. Didn't they just take who was the other guy that they took? Huh?
The Time Lord, Robert Williams?
I already said Robert Williams. No, there's another guy that they
took,
too.
They've got, what position, the 4?
No, it's international player.
Yeah, Beasley?
Yeah, Gershon. They have Gershon too. So there's a lot of young players on this team that nothing stands out as great, but you have $34 million in cap space, and I think this could be a very interesting team too. Especially having Memphis' pick next year. I think overall they came out and addressed the needs that they needed to, and now you just really need to go after that center position for me.
The question from that, because we're going to talk about Memphis, obviously, with the last thing, talking about the Mike Conley trade. The thing I want to ask you about Memphis, which brings it into this, do you think the team that Memphis has now after the Mike Conley trade, top 6 team in the draft, or are they going to be between 7 and 30? Because if this is a team that is now younger and is going to be a top 6 team again, then Boston ain't getting that pick till 2021, not 2020. So that's the question you got to answer first. Is I kind of have a feeling that this young Memphis team, could they make a run and be outside the top 6? Yeah. Yes. But I mean, based off of the lottery, and this team could be in the top 6, I think this is a team that Boston ain't getting that pick next year. They're getting it in 2021.
Here's the thing that you could do, though. If you're in a position where, Memphis is kind of on that borderline of the 6, maybe take a shot and just trade early in the season. And you put protections on it or something like that. But if you're going for a younger player that you think can help your team, I don't know exactly who's going to be available, but that could be something that you could explore. Maybe just don't let it be in the hands of the lottery. Just take it out of your hands and trade that pick. Knowing Danny Ainge, he won't fucking do that. But that could be something that could be possible. I just think that looking with this draft, it kind of signals a rebuild for me, but it doesn't mean like strip down everything because there's a lot of great pieces there that are already in place, and you have probably the most important one, at least most important two, in Jason Tatum, and you have Brad Stevens. So this is a draft that I like for the Celtics. The biggest thing that hurts them is free agency, but we're talking about the draft.
Yeah, I mean, the draft isn't as is it the players that they wanted? No.
I think Langford was.
Well, Langford could be, but I feel like this fan base was fit with one of our patrons, Eric. They wanted Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero.
I didn't hear too much chatter about that.
I
obviously heard a lot from Eric, but
yeah, there was the rumors that they really liked Goga. There were rumors that they really liked Nasir Little, and were some how many times did a Celtic pick come up, and you asked during the live stream, okay, Ricky, who are they going to take? And I was going off of what I read and what I saw, and I was like, Nasir Little. And then they didn't take Nasir Little, and I was like, well, fuck. Everything I read before this draft was wrong. And of course, everyone's not going to be right. There's some things these GMs are going to hold this information close to their chest. I like the players they got. Romeo is, to me, Romeo's the biggest question. Tremont Waters is the second question. Because I feel like they drafted him to be kind of what not just Scary Terry can be, but what Marcus Smart can be, that defensive player, and where Carson Edwards is more of that offensive point guard for them. Grant Williams, I think, is going to be a great player for Boston. He's going to fit this team, fit this chemistry. He's just going to be a really good Boston Celtic for them. The question is, what do they do in free agency? And there's part of my mind that goes Boston Wild, where I'm like, ooh, if they could entice a Jimmy Butler away from the Sixers and away from the Lakers and pair him up with someone else. But then there's a part of me that's like, no, Celtics aren't going to do that. They're not that team. They're probably just going to find these little free agents that are going to fit their team very well. And they're not going to be the max salary guys.
I think you're immediately looking at D'Angelo Russell with the cap space that freed up. I don't think it might be a huge opportunity, but I think it's definitely one that you...
3 point guards already on the team?
But they're not D'Angelo Russell.
True, but I mean, you drafted 2... my problem is if you bring in D'Angelo Russell...
5 guards is not a lot to handle.
Are you instantly... Yeah, but I don't think... Is Carson Edwards playing the 2? Marcus Smart, we know, can play the 2 his head.
Yeah.
So that's not a problem. But, do you want Carson Edwards playing the 2?
Yeah. Why not?
I just see him more as that, point guard scorer compared to that, too. Because you also got Jaylen Brown
scorers
to work
are scorers. It doesn't matter where he's playing. And
you've also got Brown, Tatum, and Hayward to work out between the 2 and the 3.
You could play Hayward at the 4. Or Tatum at the 4.
I mean, you could, but I'm looking at that, and that's a lineup that, since none of those guys are a true 4, I almost look at it and I go, in the right matchup, are they going to be basically outmatched?
Being 23 years old and having the talent that he does, especially with the year he had, I think it's definitely something that you look towards. You're not just going to add him you're not going to not add him just because he might not fit the system. Tremont Waters might not even make the team. We don't know. So he's definitely a guy that you should look at, and that might be available for them to sign. Looking at other RFAs, there's not a ton that they could possibly make a huge push for. I'd be interested to see what they would do with a guy like Stanley Johnson. Not a great shooter, and I think probably some Celtics fans are probably throwing up. with his name being brought up. But him as a defensive wing, coming off the bench, he could be interesting. And Willie Cauley-Stein's interesting to me too. A good rebounder, a guy that could be very effective, and the one that I think that my mind is kind of racing about with, what will he do? Will he finally sign an extension? It'd be Kristaps.
Yeah.
What would be the biggest fuck you to be like, hey,
steal him away,
Dallas, screw you? And I think Dallas would match it. But I don't know. He's going to be an interesting RFA because he hasn't signed yet with Dallas.
I don't know. I'm looking at guys too that are free agents and two that
I was just strictly talking RFAs.
Yeah, these are more guards. I got to look if they're RFAs or not. One's not. If like a Philly doesn't sign a JJ Redick, if they don't bring him back, why not add some shooting from the outside? Or if you're going to go cheaper, like a guy like if the Trailblazers aren't going to bring back Seth Curry. Seth Curry played very well, added to them in a playoff series, showed last year that he can score and shoot from the outside.
I think if they're going when they're going free agency, they're going big.
Okay.
They're not going. I don't think
You're
they're
going
small.
home run
I think they're
or
either
nothing.
going big or
Okay.
they're not going at all, and they're going to keep that cap space. And then knowing Danny Ainge,
I could see
give
it.
me draft picks.
Yeah. I could see it. That's why I'm not arguing, because I could see them going, D'Angelo Russell. Nope. All right, draft picks.
Oh, hey, Marvin Williams.
Yeah.
Give him.
Hey,
let's
Nicholas
have our
Batum?
contract. We'll
Nicholas
take your
Batum?
2023 first round pick, top 15 protected, and then next year it'll be a top 10 protected, then it'll be a top 9.5 protected, then it'll be a top 8 protected, then it'll be a top 5 protected,
But Danny,
and then it'll
you
be
can
a top
have
1 protected.
You can
on a
have
Tuesday.
this year's pick. Nah, man. I want those protections, man.
Yeah. Remember what I did to Billy King? Do it to you too. Mitch Kupchak.
And then if the trade falls through, I offered my firstborn child, man. I don't know why they didn't take it. I offered so many picks.
I had 10 toes. And I offered them. I cut them all off. I was gonna send them a
You
Kupchak in a freezer.
You Van Gogh'd your feet.
Just for one draft pick. Anyways, this podcast is going off the rails. We got one more topic. Let us know what you think about the Celtics draft down in the comments below. What's their plan now in free agency and with the news that Kyrie Irving and Al Horford might not sign with them? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below.